Sports Tech Nation 2021 as we roll on here. Thanks again to David and his panelists for another enlightening session on enriching and monetizing the remote fan experience. Our next panel is going to spotlight emerging sports and trends, whether that be in-stream gamification, esports, ways to monetize the business, especially when it comes to Gen Z. Of course, changing the ways that we all consume, engage, and practice sports. So I'll hand it over to Ty Jackson from 76 Capital.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to get into this panel today. A new generation of content. I want to introduce our panel speakers. I'm going to go around the room and allow them to say a little bit about themselves. Firstly, we have Jenna Kurath, the head of Comcast NBCU Sports Tech.
Thank you, Ty. It's a pleasure to be here. Always love talking about startups and the intersection of media and technology. Obviously, at Comcast is one of the world's largest broadcasters of sports. Our connections to sports runs deep. And our Sports Tech Accelerator is all about finding and funding and then fast tracking the best startups from around the world. And they get to work with our sports partners in the consortium, be that NBC Sports to Sky Sports to our newest members that have joined in as well, which is PGA Tour, WWE. We've got 3 Olympic teams as well as NASCAR. So excited to talk about a lot of the cool tech innovation that we're seeing in the space.
Thanks, Jenna. We also have Alistair Gosling, the founder and CEO of Extreme International.
Thank you so much. Hi, guys. Lovely to be here. My name is Alistair Gosling, as was said. I'm the founder and chief exec of Extreme International, a business we founded 20 years ago. We cover media, we cover marketing, events, and we're building out adventure and extreme sports destinations around the world.
Thanks, Alistair. We also have Mauricio Suleiman. He is the president of the World Boxing Council.
Hello, it's my real pleasure to be joining us in this great panel. I'm in New York, in the airport. I'm so happy. Christmas tree behind, snow behind, but the beauty of sports. We are here in a great time for sports. After the pandemic, it has been a great challenge, and now it's time to move forward and find new ways on how to get to the young audience and to use technology as it is best to make it happen. And I'm just very honored to be joined by this great panel. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mauricio. And lastly, certainly not least, we have Aviram Sharon. He's the CEO of In the Game.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Ty. Thanks. It's great to be here. Here at In the Game, we focus on creating a connected experience to sports fans. Essentially, In the Game is a technological infrastructure that enables creation and management of all real-time interactions, in-stream interactions. So essentially, what we focus on is connecting viewers to their favorite content.
Thanks, Aviram. So I just want to get this panel started by trying to understand this new generation of sports fans. So Mauricio, this question is to you. What are the traditional sports doing to best understand the needs of this new generation? And what do you see as the biggest differences?
Well, the great challenge is that there are so many options now for kids through on-demand content. It's very difficult, but sports has a great advantage that live events still have that need for audience, and the people want to see live events. So what we need to do, we need to adjust. Boxing is a very traditional sport where the fans rely on the tradition, on the old-time outlets that usually, but now we have to go into there has been a good platform coming up, and there are promoters working on finding new content to have on screen experience and to see how fans can interact live, be part of the event, be part of what is happening, and not just the traditional moment of watching an event and enjoying it. So it's a matter that the industry has to work together, the media, the platforms, the channels, and of course the promoters and the venues.
And Jenna, just from the perspective of broadcasters and media, I want to understand how you guys understand this new generation of sports fans.
We definitely have to meet them in different places. I think that's a great point, Mauricio. So many of our kids of that generation, they want to see more of the highlights, the fast clips. They're not necessarily like the boomers, so they're going to sit there and watch the entire game from start to finish. So what I like to see is when we can find technology that helps what NBC Sports and Sky Sports is already amazing at, which is the storytelling aspect. And when you marry storytelling and technology, you can bring this different nuance to that athlete's journey. I think one of my favorite stories is the 6-time LPGA Tour winner, Nelly Korda. Like, she wears the whoop all the time, constantly, just to make sure she knows her sleep, her recovery, what strain she's under. And when she was in the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, on her way to that gold medal round, it was certainly a spike in her heart rate when she hit that winning putt. At the same time, it also spiked. It pretty much doubled when that 7th hole put her in the, no longer in the outright lead, but slipped into that 3-way tie. But that was not when her heart was racing the most. It was during the final round that she won it and then stepped onto that podium. That was her heart was racing. I mean, it just goes to show how much winning the gold meant to her. And so that kind of integration into the storytelling from a broadcast standpoint, I think, gives people other reasons to tune in and root for those athletes and want to be a little bit more engaged in real time.
Alistair, from your perspective, obviously, what you're doing at Extreme International seems tailor-made for a younger generation of sports fans, people who engage with sports. What are you guys doing to really, stand out to the younger generation?
So I think our approach to this is really working through the insights of like where, how, and what that generation are looking for, right? So, the older generation who think there's the television, I tune in at that specific time when I'm told to. The younger demographic, just that's gone out the window. So it's really for us thinking about, as I said, what device, what is, obviously the core is the content, as was mentioned a second ago brilliantly. And we run obviously a collection of OTT offers, but also really work hard on the social side of things. So taking TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all those usual platforms, and then, we're delivering currently about 200 million video views a month across those platforms, but predominantly it's driven by short form. And then looking at the content stories on those platforms and really working through what is driving those numbers, what is engaging. So it's about the wow at certain times. And obviously across adventure and extreme and action sports, there's so much of that, whether it's a jump or whatever it may be. It's adversity, it's emotion, it's the sad, it's the happy. It's those human elements that just would, as I said, were brilliantly spoken about a second ago. That's what really is going to drive the numbers and short form, right? The longer form now is so tough to drive, especially with this younger demographic, is what we're seeing in terms of the overall.
And maybe just to touch on that from a technological perspective, Aviram, I'd love to sort of hear how you see how technology is really helping with this sort of storytelling for the next generation.
Yeah, I think, as you guys all mentioned, and I can't agree more, there is a challenge, and basically, I guess that is our biggest, collective challenge here, is how do we make our viewers feel special, while they are watching their favorite content, because there is so much content out there, and short form has taken over, and social has taken over so much of not only the viewing time, but the average attention span, right? And so if people are not interacting, if they don't have a personal touch into what they're watching, they're a lot less inclined to come back to that. And personally, as someone that loves sports and just it thinks it's just such a valuable thing for our society, right? And it ingrains so many values that we want our younger generation to connect to doing these sports and to viewing these sports and to these experiences. And I think our mission, right, is to create those special moments and those interactions and and really letting the viewer feel that he is unique. And in the practical form, it's by letting the viewer customize their identity on the stream, or share what they're watching with other friends and other people, and call people to watch an exciting event, that gold medal moment, or that extreme race, or that that epic boxing match, right? We want to be able to loop in our friends into those moments, and to have those viewers actually actively participate. And this is pretty much what we focus on a daily basis, is using technology to create interactive formats to work with premium content and get viewers to connect to those moments.
That's amazing. Thank you. And yeah, that really speaks to sort of the next area that I wanted to move into here, which is just talking about the way that sports organizations are communicating with this next generation of sports fans, and how they're trying to both bring them into the stadium, but have them be engaged, all across what they're doing. So maybe Jenna, I'd love to hear from your perspective how you see what sports organizations are doing out of venue and in venue to really engage this next generation.
Yeah, so I'll give you two examples. One from Spectacor, which is also one of our sports partners in the consortium. If you're not familiar with them, own the Philadelphia Flyers, Wells Fargo Center. So there, obviously, fans are starting to come back, and they're expecting that experience to be touchless, to be much more seamless than it was before. We invested in a startup that was in our last cohort earlier this year that allows fans to instantly upgrade to a better seat in the venue, all via text message. So there's no middle piece there. There's no app to download. You have to remember, is it the Flyers app? Is it the Wells Fargo app? It is literally that easy that you can just pick good, better, best on the seats, pay through it all through text message, and get up and move to a better seat. And so that may not be drawing fans in, but when they're there, it's going to make sure they have the best experience possible. And it unlocks new ticketing revenue sales that is really important insights for our Spectacor team on the data side. And then if you look at NASCAR is another great example of reaching a new fan base. So, when everything went on pause, they really leaned into their iRacing. So on that esports side of things, they had amazing viewership and basically amassed nearly 1 million brand new to the NASCAR world fans that were engaged, but didn't know and understand the nuances of the sport. And so that gave them a great opportunity and also a challenge to help them understand how this sport works, how the point system works, so that they could draw them in, because NASCAR in particular, they have generational fans. They have people that go for the entire weekend, camp out there, and make it that full weekend experience. And so, again, they're going to have those avid fans that are aging, and we want to make sure they bring in that next generation of fans.
Yeah, I love that you bring up esports, because it really does lie sort of at the convergence between the digital and the physical worlds. So I'm curious, both out of venue, but really in the venue, how are esports changing the way that organizations are marketing to this next generation and trying to bring in this next generation of fans? Maybe Mauricio, you can speak on this, and I can push this question around the room.
Sure. We have spent almost 2 years now developing a boxing game. ESBC is going to be the first boxing game in 12 years. And the excitement around the world is tremendous. And that will include boxing competitions that are planned to be like a boxing match, but with venues and with people watching around the world, even pay-per-view. There's also great work in series and movies, and many work in the social responsibility programs. So the outreach with society is very important, and boxing is a very noble sport, and it is a family-oriented. It is against the belief that it's a aggressive and negative sport. It really builds bridges of great quality of human beings. And the sportsmanship is very much into the fair play. Every time there's a boxing match, you see at the end of the fight, they go in the middle of the ring, they hug each other. And the way we're trying to put this into the video game and the ES competitions, it's very challenging, but it's very, very, a lot of people are waiting for it to be released. So we're very excited about this new venture.
That's great. And of course, esports is maybe just one example of the new sort of wave of technology that is changing sports. Aviram, I'd love to shoot over to you to hear about some other technologies that you think are really going to play a big role in engaging fans nowadays.
Sure, I think to touch upon the point that Mauricio made, there's and also Jenna. First of all, you want to take that sportsmanship and you want to take the athletic abilities and highlight those with technology, highlight those peak moments. And I always say, right, if we think of some of the most dramatic moments in sports, right, we all have those moments when, I don't know, for me, I'm a huge tennis fan, Roger Federer winning a Grand Slam, or stuff like that. Everybody, your team wins, a huge tournament. You remember those moments more, right? And I think that the minute that you actually take action, if you take action in one of those moments, right? Imagine you could actually participate while you were watching that favorite moment. That would make your moment or your experience that much more memorable, right? Whenever we take action in something, even if we're at a concert and like we get acknowledged for a second, right, by the singer or so forth, we feel that much more involved. So I think that's part of what technology needs to do for those moments. And the other thing is, as Jenna highlighted, if you want to move a seat, right, without stressing out, that makes it easy for you. That this app makes it easy for you. For us, the way we go about it is that you, as a viewer, don't need to download anything. If you want to interact, if you want to, make a prediction, or if you want to do a parallel voting to what the judges did, with ITG's technology, for example, you don't have to download anything as we generate an avatar for you. You can start playing immediately and so forth. And I think a lot of technologies have to keep in mind that it needs to be user friendly. And we need to learn as well from the Twitches and the YouTubes of the world and the social media, where people also have a social experience. And what we try to do, and I believe, other technologies also, but this is a very deep focus of ITG, is to connect a social experience, bring that into the live sports, bring that into the traditional, and upcoming sports. I think that's part of our mission.
Yeah, well, you just touched on it, sort of YouTube, social media, how this plays such a big role in bringing fans into new sports. I know, Mauricio, we talked about this earlier, how, it's so easy to engage with YouTube and just have people who don't necessarily follow these sports come in. Alistair, from your perspective, how are you seeing how important YouTube and social media is for engagement?
I mean, listen, if, from our side, it is the core engagement tool. It is where the demographic is sitting. And, we, across all our pages, we're now up north of 20 million fans. And so that is the biggest platform that we have to drive people to wherever that wants to go. And I think, look, the other interesting thing with the space that we're playing in is that the COVID obviously had a massive negative effect, but ultimately the arenas of our space are the mountains. We have an expression: the planet is the playground, right? And so we've just seen this massive increase of participation as people came out of lockdowns, wanting to get outside, back to nature. So I think, look, if you have those multiple things combined, it's been incredibly powerful. So, and I think, the other thing is understanding if you can storytell and put enough content out on social in short form, the numbers you can drive are enormous, and then you can drive them to where you want them to go, right? But you've got to put the time and the energy and the effort in to really making that work. And my team, the team around me, done an incredible job around that, over the last few years. And so, it's and then that's tying into where we're heading in terms of metaverse and NFT, and what's going to happen there as we're kind of we've just got a lot of discussion going on around that area as it stands as well in terms of technology in that space.
Yeah, maybe if you want to dig in a bit deeper to that as well, how these new sort of worlds and technologies can really just change the way that organizations are marketing to fans?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the metaverse and the NFT space. I'm not an expert, but I've been coming up to speed as fast as I can in the last few months. And it's the metaverse high level is you're going to end up Facebook obviously rebranding itself to Meta. Is they're going to try and control that space for them, and then there's the more open platforms, which is where you can see it heading with some others. And I think the more open platform is obviously going to be like the web, and you're going to get some space just like a website, but it's going to be different space because it's avatars. And the technology and the drive linked with Bitcoin and that whole coin space is just on the move at extraordinary pace. And that's exciting. It's a new era and a new space, and who knows where it's going to go, but it's definitely you've got to be in it to engage in it, and we're just starting that journey with 2 or 3 fantastic partners, and so exciting times ultimately.
That's great. And one area I definitely think we should talk about is sports betting and how this is changing everything in sports and fan engagement, specifically in the US, obviously in the UK and really Europe, many places around the world. Sports betting has been going on for decades, and now in the US, it's really just starting to pick up. Jenna, from your perspective, how is sports betting changing things?
We already saw fantasy as being a huge driver of more engagement. When your fantasy team or your fantasy player is playing, you're going to tune in more. And we know that's going to translate even more into proper sports betting as more and more states legalize that. And if you look at it from the NBC sports perspective, it opens up this ability to get more nuances and understanding of the sport for somebody that's a little bit more of a newbie, that wants to do more wagertainment, kind of dip their toe into it, all the way to somebody who's going to be very stat driven and they're going to put some serious money on the line. But I think we all know that, if you've got money on the game, you're going to stay tuned. You're going to stay tuned throughout the game, all the way to the very end. And the more that we have in-game prop betting lines and things like that, the more you'll see that engagement and that lean in. So I think it's just, we're on the cusp of seeing what that will bring to us in general. We're super excited, obviously, about our strategic partnership with PointsBet. PGA Tour is with PointsBet as well. So they've got an amazing tech stack, and it just really allows us to create different betting experiences that I think, again, will capture fans regardless of what generation they're in.
That's great. And Mauricio, welcome back. Just wanted to ask you as well, sort of how you're seeing how sports betting is really changing the way that fans can engage with what they're seeing.
Sports betting is it's intriguing. We have the issue where the fans must be aware that the betting does not have any influence in the actual game or the fight. That's the most important topic in betting. Boxing, it was invented because of betting. People would gather in the UK to see 2 people fight, and they would bet on rounds and then the fights. So now boxing is exploding again because regulations in the USA changed. It had a 25-year ban, which limited very much betting on boxing. Now it's exploding. And as a governing body, our biggest challenge is to make sure the solid distance from betting and what happens in the ring, the promoters, the networks. So it's a huge thing because people like to bet. We all like to bet on the games and the NFL and the baseball and football and cricket and everything, horse racing, but boxing has so many elements. Now promoters are instituting new bets between rounds, what's going to happen, so people can be in the action during the fight and at all times.
Thanks, Mauricio. No, this has really been fantastic. I mean, we've jumped all over the map. We've talked about sports media and different types of engagement technologies. We've talked about esports, YouTube and social media, moved on to sports betting. I just want to make sure we have some time now to just sort of have some conclusions and closing remarks. Maybe, Aviram, from your perspective, how excited are you about this next generation?
Well, I think this is a super, super exciting time. And I think actually, like, from our perspective, one of the core interactive formats that ITG has out of the box is a very deep in-stream social prediction that can also connect to real money where legal. Out of the box solution, which we've seen, be very, very successful on multiple properties. We collaborate with USGA, and we've done the Olympics content, and we've done the recent Euro with a major betting operator that supported these interactions. And for us, it's like I think everything that you guys mentioned about this space is definitely something that we feel very comfortable with, especially in the fact that you have to be able to also diversify your offering to different audiences. So you want to have age verification and do this in a responsible way. And a lot of times you want to just start with something that's more gamified, and a lot of other times you want to rely on stats and provide automated, in-stream predictions and so forth. And I think every guy, for me, this is great because this is what we have out of the box. It's like this is the area that we specialize in. So there's definitely a lot to do. It's just a matter of just selecting the right interactive formats for the right audiences and being able to create and manage those in the right way that is fit to that specific partner and those specific moments in time. I think that's and there's just so much to be done in this space.
This has been great. Well, thank you, everyone. We have had Jenna Karath, Alistair Gosling, Mauricio Silliman, and Aviram Sharon. Appreciate all of your time. This has been a great conversation. My name is Ty Jackson. Thank you all for tuning in today.
It's been a pleasure.